Hey there, saltwater anglers, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, your local report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. This podcast is part of the Great Days Outdoors Network, and each week we'll be talking to local experts to learn ways that we can become better anglers and stewards of this fishery, whether you're out fishing in the ocean, the lower bay, or its tributaries. We also ask that every angler do their part in sustainable fishing practices, keeping this amazing fishery healthy and thriving for generations to come. Spring is here, and the water in the bite is warming up. So let us take a minute and hear who's bringing us this week's show, and then we're going to jump into the report and find out what's going on. Check it out. AFTCO has a gift for our listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. For cool mornings, I love my Reaper sweatshirt. And on those hot days, my Samurai sun shirt. You just can't beat the quality and performance. All you got to do to get your coupon code is text LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. Upgrade your waterfront with Killer Doc's premium dock furniture, built to last a lifetime in marine conditions. Crafted from marine-grade aluminum with a protective anti-corrosion coating, it's tough enough to handle the elements while providing unmatched comfort. Featuring sunbrella cushions with fast-drying, removable covers, our furniture stays securely in place even in storms. Choose from cabanas, club chairs, love seats, tables, and more to create your perfect dockside retreat. Durability meets elegance at Killer Doc. Check out the full collection at killerdoc.com today. Whether you're hitting the sand with set rigs using the traditional scent strips for pompano or fishing the flats or marshes for speckled trout, redfish, and flounder, Fish Bites has something for you. They're family owned and operated in St. Augustine, Florida, and pride themselves on making reliably consistent fishing products for anglers of all ages around the world. Fish Bites bait and lures are made with pride in the Sunshine State, USA. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits at fishbites.com. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, saltwater anglers of the Lower Chesapeake Bay, welcome to this week's show. Hope you guys all had a very fun, safe, and productive fishing weekend over the Memorial Day. This week, I want to dive into just kind of a quick recap of what's been going on over the last 2 or 3 weeks as things kind of heated up in the Bay, and bring back a friend of the show who we've not talked to in a minute, Captain Jack Limroth with King Tide Charters. How we doing, brother? Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Doing pretty well.
Good, man. Life updates. What's new with you?
Everything's changed. So I moved up to Washington, D.C. about 3 weeks ago.
Uh-oh.
Just
Big
started a
moves.
new, yeah, just started a new job up here. So it's been a little bit of an adjustment. I went from living at home all growing up, running charters in the summertime, went to school, came back, had a job in Virginia Beach, and then kind of just needed a little bit of space and experience something new. But now all of a sudden the fishing's heating up, and I'm finding myself a few hours away, making a couple drives here and there. So you know,
That's definitely a sacrifice. I mean, excited to hear that you're pursuing your career goals and your career dreams. But I'm sure it's got to be a little bit of heartburn when you're walking to work in the big city and it's, a bluebird sky day and you know that the fish are snapping. But man, tell us, so you moved up to DC 3 weeks ago. You ran back and made a couple of trips. You guys had a couple of like absolutely epic days. I just want to hear all about this from a cobia fishing perspective. You've kind of got this like I don't know what the word is, like reputation or this thing, this tradition that you do every year, kind of try to get out there as early as possible and go find some fish. Like, tell us what you did. Tell us what you saw. I mean, from what I kind of saw online, it looked like it was just National Geographic.
it was nothing short of spectacular this year. I think that over the past few years, I will say that one of my favorite things is, everybody has a date in their head where they think they're going to show up. Half the people are like, I'm not going to put in the effort to go find them. I'll just wait for them. And that totally makes sense. I mean, I think this year I fished 4 days without seeing anything before I saw the first one. And so that's a lot of gas burned,
Oh
seeing
yeah.
nothing when you could probably just wait. But luckily for me, the way it worked was I was done with my first job, but I didn't start my next job for like 2.5 weeks. So I had a little bit of a window to go out and look. And we've done it in years past. I mean, last year we caught three on May 8th. The year before we caught a couple on the 13th. I think the year before was like the 15th. And usually this year was a little bit different, but usually we're the only people out there. I mean,
Hmm.
there's a couple people that are looking for drum, but we come, I'm lucky I can put my boat in Rudy for a few days and I try and time it up with water temperatures, looking at the buoys, and then you just find the right weather window and go south until you find them.
Well, what
This
about
year we
the back up? So the buoys and the water temperatures, is there like a target temperature that you see and you're like, okay, if it hits this temperature, I'll go, or are you just like hoping for like a general range?
I would say if you went by like a regular standard, I would say comfortable like 65 to 67 degrees is definitely in the money for
Hmm.
it. Whereas, this year, what we'll end up talking about the day that we found them, we found a water break where it was, 30 miles of 54 to 56 degree water. And
Wow,
then
cold.
within a 200 or 300 yard stretch, it shot up to 62. And that's where all the fish were. It was
Mm.
between 61 and a half and 63. I know Carolina guys have caught them in 57, 58. I think that really it just depends. I mean, for me this year, typically I wouldn't run as far as we did. I would probably have waited, but I didn't have the time to wait. It was, hey,
Ah,
my job's starting on Monday. I got to leave on Friday. I've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's sunny. We're going to go until we find
so how's Charleston this time of year? No, I'm just kidding. You didn't go that far south, but
them.
uh, so you're riding along. I mean, was there ever a point when you were cruising that you're like, you know what? Maybe it's just dead. We should just turn around.
Well, I think that so I was fishing with Jake Bolts this day, and he and I both were kind of joking around. We looked at the water temps, and he has this thing. I guess they use it offshore. It's like a subscription where you get the sea surface temperature. It's a
Hmm.
chart that they shoot from like a satellite.
Yeah.
And, we went out, we looked on the ocean front for a little while because the warm bay water was coming out. I think it was like 63, 64 coming out of the bay. And we thought, maybe if some have come through, this is where they'd be. And we didn't see anything. And so then we pulled up the chart and we saw from Rudy to about 10 miles south of the state line was
Hmm.
just blue, which is cold
Cold.
water. So the
Yeah.
warmer it is, the like more yellow, green, and orange. And we looked at it, and I'm following all of the Oregon Inlet boats, and it's okay. I'm talking to people; they're catching them south of the inlet, then they're catching them out of the inlet, and then they're catching them north of the inlet. And what I was looking at is, okay, I see there's cold water for 40 miles, and then there's a break where it gets much warmer. And
Yeah.
so originally we thought the break was like at the state line. And so we ran there and it was 54 degrees. And then we're like, okay, we're already here. Let's go 10 more miles. And then it was 54 degrees still. So we ended up going farther than we thought, but like we kind of assumed, essentially that first wall of fish had come up north and hit the water temperature break, and essentially they were corralled there.
Mm.
The farther we got south of the water line, the fish were swimming north, but then you'd get right up on the line and all the fish were swimming south again. So it just was, a mixture of luck and kind of looking at it to where knowing that they're moving north and they're not going to bust through a 54-degree water line. So
Right.
we found it and landed on them, and luckily got to do it 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. Some people did. We didn't go back down, but
I got a
um,
question about how many fish you saw, but before I ask that question, I want to go back to what you said about the sea surface temperature. So, one of the sponsors of our show is Thomas Hilton with Hilton's Real Time Navigator, and that is,
okay.
they use those uh, I forget the name of them, starts with a V, I think, satellite images, and
Mhm.
then they go into their database, and then it gets overlaid with their user interface, like you were talking about, to where you can go look at a target area, and then you can adjust the gradient or the temperature zone. So if you know that like the coldest water might potentially be like 55 degrees and the warmest water might be like 65 degrees, you would adjust your temperature gradient to that target zone of a 10-degree variance, which is then going to adjust your color gradient accordingly. So it's a little bit easier to really see
Gotcha,
those finer
gotcha.
temp breaks, right?
Exactly.
So it's a really cool tool, and you can even go historical. So, like, we could go back to those days that you fished and look at that historical archived sea surface shot, as well as salinity, chlorophyll. and kind of get an idea of like what was going on in that area, why that break was happening right there. And then it's cool because you can kind of use that as like that little memory stick where you're like, oh, in the future, if I'm going to go explore, I need to look for these type of markers, this type of moon phase, etc. So all things that you can get when you subscribe to the Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. I enjoy it. It's been fun to go back to like tournament days or really epic
Hmm.
days and just kind of like see if I can't find a nugget or two.
Yeah, just pick your brain and looking at it where it's, it's really weird. We were actually joking about this the other day with Travis, and it's, it makes sense early season when one day's good and one day's bad, but then you look at it in the middle of the season, you get 10 days in a row that are great, and then you go back out to the same spots and you don't see any fish. And
Yeah.
trying to pick apart, we love Cobia because, as soon as you think you got them figured out, you don't. So it's like trying to be able to use, the resources that we have to be able to maybe look at something and be like, hey, maybe we'll fish for something else today because
Right.
the tides aren't lining up or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, you guys were fortunate to be able to make the trek that you did. I mean, you've got that kind of medium dead rise Seahawk hole on that 25, which is a great riding platform. But 40 something miles is a little bit of a hike, regardless of the size of your boat. How was the ride down and back?
On Tuesday, it was brutal. We were far enough, and Jake and I were laughing. It was rough, but we were like, we're just gonna go, and we got beat up pretty good. Wednesday was gorgeous the whole day. I mean, pretty much glassy, calm running. I mean, my boat's only got a 225 on the back, so we were running 28, 29 knots,
Yeah.
just cruising. But it was gorgeous. I don't think after doing it, I don't necessarily recommend going all the way down there, but it was fun.
What dates on the calendar was this? Was this May 7th or May 14th timeframe?
7th. That was May 7th and 8th.
Okay.
Which I mean, to keep, the earliest we'd ever caught them in Virginia was the 8th. Again, you look for 8 hours and you get one or two shots, but
Right.
this year we just expedited it. I think that the first like good day that I heard in Virginia was not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before, which would have been
The
like the
13th.
13th or 14th or something. I know that some people caught some fish down south, but um,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
no,
the 11th, the
it was a
11th.
sight.
Yeah.
It was a sight to see.
The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. What you need are the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. So make the choice that captains all up and down the East Coast make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. Looking to protect your dock with materials built to last? Shoreline Plastics has you covered. As leaders in composite marine dock pilings and building materials, they engineer solutions that stand the test of time. Their EcoPile is the ultimate composite piling designed for longevity and eco-friendliness, ensuring your dock remains strong for years. And if you need a quick fix for worn pilings, try Snap Jacket, a durable solution that restores and extends their life. Visit shorelineplastics.com to discover how you can elevate your next marine project. Shoreline Plastics, where durability meets innovation. So numbers, like the first time that you guys got into them, like the pictures that I was seeing and the pictures I'm looking at on your Facebook right now, I mean, it looks like flat calm seas and just loads and loads and loads of quality fish. I mean, if you had to just throw a number up against the wall that you and Captain Jake Bolts with Flying Fish saw, how many fish would you say you guys saw that day?
So the first day we didn't make it down there until like 1 o'clock.
Okay.
And I bet we saw, so the first day was Jake and I with Flying Fish, and the second day was Jake and Caleb Underwood with Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
First day, I bet we saw like 200 or so. And that's with pods. So interactions wise, maybe 15 or 20 groups of 5 to 20.
Mm.
Um, and then the second day, I mean, don't quote me on it, but I mean, we probably saw like 50 or 75 pods.
Oh
So
my gosh.
call it, probably
Yeah.
saw a dozen singles, a dozen pairs, and 50 or 60 pods of anywhere from 6 to 50, 60.
Uh,
So it's hard to put a number on it. I will say it was one of the better showings of fish I've ever seen. But anybody that was down there that day, whether you were coming up from Morgan Inlet or not, those fish were acting so strange. I've never seen more packs of fish think that a jig is a ghost. Like, like we caught
Run away.
we caught plenty of fish, but it was, almost one in every five pods would eat. You'd throw the jig and they would all tuck their pec fins and scatter. But the water was so clear that you could see 20 feet down. So you could see them all swimming and they just looked like they'd seen a ghost. And I heard the same thing from so many people. So the funny thing is we had one of the best days I've ever had and they weren't even eating. So
Oh,
I can't imagine if it was one of those, if they were eating like drum do. I mean, I don't even want to put a number on what it could have been.
well, from a sustainability perspective, I appreciate that you guys were just throwing artificials because there's virtually no chance, or very little chance of them getting gut hooked.
Yeah.
They're always going to
Yeah.
be hooked right in the corner of the mouth. You can get a nice clean release. You guys are, on King Tide, always very conscientious of caring for the species, which we appreciate and talk about often on the show, holding them up properly, releasing them properly, all that good stuff. But I mean, I feel like we need to like have a moment of silence for having seen that many fish and then not cooperating. Because everybody listening that loves Cobia fish is like, oh my gosh, like what I would give to see 10 pods. And you've got to
Yeah.
see 50, 60 pods in a day. You mentioned the water was really clear. So obviously with that temperature break, there was some sort of a change in the water, I guess salinity or clarity or whatever you want to call it. Like how far down could you see the jig and how far down could you see the cobias?
Most of the cobias were on top per usual. It
Right.
was so calm the second day that most of them were waking, which was pretty. But we were joking around when we first pulled up and found the temperature break. The water was visibly clearer, and we were in 40 foot of water or so, and you could throw the jig. And I use a 15 foot shock leader of 65-pound braid that's a different color, and then probably 3 or 4 feet of fluoro, and you could still see the jig when the different color braid was under the water. So, you could see at least 18, 20 feet down. You're
That's
fighting the fish,
crazy.
and I felt like I was back in Florida. I mean, you're looking over the side of the tower, and the fish is 20 feet down, and you can see it pinwheeling under the boat. It was a lot of people, we tried to play it off a little bit like we were fishing in Virginia to keep it a little bit secret. And people were responding being like, "You must have found a pretty spot of Virginia water," because I mean that the Outer Banks is so indicative of just having beautiful water that I don't think we fooled many people, but it
It's the
worked for
windmills. It's the
it worked for
windmills.
2 days.
They turned on the
Yeah,
filtration systems at the windmills. That's what it was. It was all out by the windmills.
yeah, we
Uh,
were out at the tower.
I mean, I appreciate the candor about it too, because it's all fun and games, and we like to joke around on social media or whatnot. But it's like when you have gone the distance and put in the work and the time and the gas to go find them, you kind of want to be able to enjoy it for yourself,
A
as much as you
day.
can, because otherwise you end up fishing in a parking lot, which is not as fun.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
it's bad when we ran down there the second day and there were 50 Oregon Inlet boats that had turned and ran 35 miles north,
North.
40 miles north to come find those fish. So it ended up being funny. We ended up getting stopped by the North Carolina Marine Patrol. They were great.
Uh-oh.
Like we got lucky. But that is a good point. If you do go down past the state line, you do need a North Carolina fishing license. It is not your port of entry,
Oh. Or but
which
your port. Okay, so it's not
of
your port
entry.
of
And so
entry?
like for me, we left Virginia and I
Right.
knew we were going back to Virginia. So I like, they asked us, "Hey, do you have any fish on the vessel?" And I said, "No, we're from Virginia. We're following the regulations from the port of entry where you're going back in."
Hmm.
And they said, essentially as soon as you cross state lines, if you're within 3 miles, I believe, even if you're crossing through, you do technically have to have a license. They were really nice about it. And, they let us get 3 day licenses, but it was pretty funny to kind of put a testament to how good the fishing was. The fish were swimming by as they were tied up next to us, and they were like, "Don't stop for us." I think we caught four while we were stopped,
No
but
way.
yeah, it was pretty
While
funny.
you're getting stopped and like talked to, you're catching fish.
Yeah, it
Please
was
tell me
pretty
you got a
fun.
video of that somewhere.
I think Caleb's got a video of it somewhere. It's pretty
Oh,
good.
Caleb. Caleb, we'll have to find you and get that video. That is too funny. So you did buy a 3-day license, and remind me, is North Carolina, was it in season for harvest down there?
Yes.
So could you have, in theory, if you had a North, and if you don't know the answer, that's fine. We can Google it. But I'm curious, if you leave Virginia Beach, like from Rudy, make the distance, have the North Carolina license for harvest. You're in North Carolina waters, you harvest, and then drive back to Virginia Beach and don't fish. Is that kosher or no?
Um, as far as I know, no, because it is for regulations wise, it is your port of entry. What I don't really understand is like the nuance of if I ran down and caught fish in Carolina and then don't fish on the way back, why is it any different than driving to Oregon Inlet, keeping fish, and driving the truck with the boat back? I think I know. I mean, if I pulled into Rudy with two cobias in the box and a Coast Guard stopped us, they're not, they don't have any proof that I was in North Carolina. So I think that's probably where the issue is. But if you got pulled over on 64 coming into town with two cobias, they don't
Yeah.
know either. So I'm not totally sure. I err on the side of caution. Once we bought the license, we were joking. It's like, oh, we're legal here. Should we just go to Oregon Inlet? But
Yeah.
um,
Just go see what happens. Yeah, I'm reading a
no,
couple of things. It's not crystal clear.
yeah.
Like the waters that you were fishing. I mean, the typical AI overview will give you a broad statement, but then you kind of got to dive into the different articles to understand the context and what it's actually saying.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like there's probably a way you could do it legally, but it would probably be pretty
It's
tricky.
probably not worth it. I mean,
No,
they're
no.
fun to go down there and catch. Let them get into the bay, let the season open, and
Right.
we'll go from there.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Man, that's so cool to hear. I'm just picturing all these pods and the treat of doing it in crystal clear water has got to just have been like you felt like you were in some like magical place called Florida.
Yeah, yeah. I was lucky. Combination of trying it the last few years, getting a few phone calls from people down south. Travis helped me out a little bit. He was, 25 miles south, and he was catching a few fish, and he was like, "I don't know how far you got to come, but just start driving." So I'll
Oh
give
yeah,
him
Captain
I'll give him
Captain
some credit.
Travis with
Give him some credit
Foolproof.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was lucky. What a difference the seventh and eighth were compared to this past weekend, though.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. And as we transition into this past weekend and the totally, different set of conditions and where, Hilton's real-time navigator can come into play, as well as just like paying attention to environmental things that happen. You mentioned the shock leader, and I've not heard that before. So what's your mainline braid test and then your shock leader and your actual leader? Talk me through that setup.
Yeah, so one of the main reasons I do this one is running charters. It helps a little bit having the different color. I think I talked about this one of the times I was on here. So I'll run 30 pound, 30 pound braid as my main line, which is a little light. I probably should be using something like 50, but all my rods have it. So I'll run 30-pound main line, and then I'll do 3 arm lengths of 65-pound braid. That's a different color, and then 60-pound fluoro. And the reasoning behind it, one, especially, when you're charter fishing, we fish with a lot of people that don't have a ton of experience. And so the 65-pound, sometimes the fish will get up next to the boat when they run under the boat. It has a lot more abrasion resistance. And then also, when you're not fortunate enough to have the clear water, when all of a sudden, my main line's yellow and you see the green braid come up, it's like I look down at William and I say, okay, William, I got shock leader. So
Ah,
we know the fish is 10
close.
feet under the boat. So he's ready with the net. And you don't have any surprises where, you're lucky to get into a big fish and all of a sudden someone's cranking on it, they're high sticking it a little bit, and all of a sudden it shoots out from under the boat and you miss a shot.
And
It
not
gives you a
ready.
little, it gives you a little bit of a heads up, while also if it runs toward the trim tab or the engine, you get a
Yeah.
little bit of extra resistance.
And in your, a couple of days there and thinking about the new regulations for this year with the minimum size being 43 inches and the harvest limit being two per vessel per day, or one per person if you're by yourself fishing. Do you think it's going to be a challenge to, catch a limit as we're kind of bringing that lower end from 40 to 43? I know the joke in the past was, the 5 o'clock 40,
Yeah, the
that
four
we're like
o'clock.
dying to catch to put a bag together for your charter. How do you think that's going to play into, you know, the dynamic of charter fishing this summer? Is it going to be as big of a challenge as it sounds like it could be, or do you think it's really not an issue?
I think that the big question originally was, now there's no one fish over 50-inch limit. And so kind of weighing the, hey, you can't keep two 41 inchers, but now people can go out and kill two 70 pounders. And as we look at our, sustainability, there's all the argument of, reproductive efficiency and all this and that. Personally, you know, a 60 pounder might have less likelihood of having a lot of babies, but, at least it has the genes of a 60 pounder. So
Mm.
I think that, you know, it's unlikely that the first two fish you catch are going to be over 50 inches. But I will not be harvesting two over 50 inches in a day. I don't think that you need that much meat. Maybe if it's a charter that really wants food and it's the end of the day and you catch a 50 incher and you can't catch anything else and you get another. I think that's one side of it, is being responsible. It'll make tournaments interesting for sure, but not having the cap, if you catch a big fish, just be responsible. We don't, it's a treat these days to catch a fish over 60 pounds. If you're lucky enough to catch two, you don't need 120 pounds of meat. On the flip side, there were tons of times where the limit was 241 inchers.
Yeah.
That I think will play a big factor in terms of everyday impacts of the
Putting a limit
number of
together.
time, yeah, the number of times that you would have a 48 and a 41, or a big fish and then you scrape out a 40 and a half or a 42. I mean, I think what the limit's 43 this year.
Yeah,
So
minimum 43. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I had a lot of days where you catch two 42 inchers, and that's my favorite size to keep. It's two, smaller fish that are great. It's going to be a challenge in itself. I hope that people are aware of it, because I know when they changed it from 3 to 2, it took a while for people to kind of get in the know, like people that aren't doing it every day.
Right.
But yeah, it'll definitely be tricky. I mean, we catch a lot of fish that are 40 to 43 inches in terms of just the everyday kill
Yeah.
fish.
And I think that was some of the reasoning I remember hearing at the VMRC meeting, is that, those fish will get another year to grow.
Yeah,
And typically they are a little bit more aggressive eaters and a little bit easier to catch and this, that, and the other. You made a really interesting observation that I had not thought about, and it's kind of like blaring in my head about the genes, of a large fish. And it's important to remember that like not every female cobia has got the genes to become a 65, 70 pounder. Otherwise, they'd all be that size.
I totally agree.
So in
Yeah, and
addition, like, okay, oh, the fertility thing, like, oh, well, no, the 48 to 52 incher is way more fertile. Kill all the 60 pounders. Okay, I don't know what the percentages are, but let's just say that a 60 pounder that's 60 inches is, half as fertile as a 48 pounder. That's still half of those eggs, half of those fertile eggs with that genetic makeup to become that size fish.
I totally agree. I mean, I am not a scientist and I don't know the truth behind this, but I look at it, all animals are animals. If you look at people, if we ran around and killed everybody over 6'8", you're not going to have that many people that are 6'8". I mean, you look at it with drum. I mean, the tagging data shows it. Not every drum gets to 50 inches. I mean, you'll catch
Right.
drum. I know Caleb had one. He caught it. It was 43 inches, and 5 years later, it got caught, and it was 43 inches. So some of them,
Wow.
just like people, grow
Interesting.
and have a limit. Same with
Right.
trout, and that's the big thing they say down in Texas with the trout. It's just, yes, the efficiency might not be great, but even if 1/10 of a 90 pounder's genetics get passed on to the next generation, there's a reason that there's not as many big fish. You look at some of these dock shots from back in the day, people didn't even keep fish under 50 pounds. And
Yeah.
so there's a reason why if you kill all these big fish, the genetics aren't there. Some of these 45 inchers might have the genetics to get there, but I know that a 60 pounder has the genetics to get there. So I'm not innocent. I mean, I've killed plenty of big ones and I
Hmm.
probably still will, but it makes sense. I mean, you look at the average. I remember laughing at Austin Hain with Fineo was telling me, years ago, he said, I think it was 2012 or 2013, you could keep like two per person. He killed six in a day, and the smallest was 53 pounds. And then he joked with us and said, when's the last time you had a day that you caught six over 53 pounds, let alone six as your first six fish? So
Right.
it
Yeah.
shows, I mean, the number of people fishing for him has 1,000x, and the number of
Mm.
fish is still prevalent, but it's obvious there's not many big ones left. You get here and there, and there's some big ones, but you've talked about it. You get to the citation data. I mean, there used to
Right.
be a number of 70 pounders a year. in 80s and 90s, and now it's like somebody catches a 65 pounder and people are texting about it. Whereas, back in the day, that used to just be a good fish.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it was either 65 or 67 pounds. I think 65 pounds was my biggest in the last couple of years. And looking at the citation data from, I think it was 2023, there was significantly less. I'd have to go back and look it up. But I remember it was like only one over 70
Yeah,
pounds in
yeah,
2023, which is just crazy to think about. Um, but it's such an important conversation to have, and it's one that we kind of easily disagree on a lot. I think when you look at some of the online discussions and this, that, and the other, there's so much variance in the opinions. But I think what you said really hits home for me, which is like pay attention to the genetics. Like we all go fishing because we want that thrill of catching that giant and having that really special memory. Like nobody's like, dude, man, you remember 24 years ago when I caught that 46 incher?
yeah.
Like
Like,
that's not a thing. But
I
to
don't
get
know.
that opportunity, we each kind of take our own personal responsibility and try to release over 50 as best we can. Um, Unless there's really some, hard driving reason that you just gotta
Yeah.
harvest that
And
fish.
honestly, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. You're not like nobody's hurting anybody's feelings keeping them. I think the biggest thing is keep what you need, release the rest. If you're confident that you're going to be able to keep two, you know, unless you think it's a citation and you really want one, or if it's a tournament or this or that. I mean, just act responsibly with it. Like I said, I'm a charter fisherman. We kill
Y-
more than anybody else. It's not like I'm a saint, but it's just, personal opinions. Everyone's got them. You can do whatever you like, but just know that, sometimes you might not see as many big fish if you keep them. But with the new regulations, I mean, I guess their goal, VMRC probably doesn't care too much about how big the fish are. They care about the total population and
Right.
keeping the efficient breeders in healthy numbers is probably a good way to increase the numbers. So I don't knock it, but I probably won't be keeping two big ones
I mean,
unless it's tournament day.
yeah, me neither. And I will say this too. It's like you should definitely be vacuum packing and caring for your meat properly so that you can enjoy it. I might just have to start asking myself the question, like, will I eat this by Christmas?
Yeah,
And if the
seriously.
answer is no, just let it swim. All right, so I think we beat that topic up pretty good.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully our listeners can appreciate that. Like it's near and dear to us because it's like that's the resource and that's what we're all passionate about. So we got to work hard to protect it. So
Definitely.
this past weekend, totally
Yeah.
different story, man. I go back to something that Captain Austin Hayne always talk about. Like when it's out of the West or out of the Northwest, there's just something about the environmental impact that just seems to push the fish down. Like I was out there Saturday. I ran into you near the Cape. You had just seen your first fish in like 3 hours. Like, talk us through like how dynamically different a couple of days later the fishing was for you. And you had a charter in from where? Tell us about the charter. They came in from a far ways away, right?
Yeah, I had a family friend of mine and two of his buddies that flew in from Aspen. They're fly fishermen, fly guides from out west. Yeah, I mean, they both understood it. It's tough. I mean, that's the reality of fishing. If you fish every day, you're going to have days that are great. You're going to have days that are not great. And it's, one of the coolest things is being able to put people on and have them experience a good fishing day. And so it's always a bummer. It's nice when it's another guide because everybody gets it. But, I mean, we had them Saturday and Sunday. Couldn't have asked for better conditions. Sunday morning was pretty bumpy, but full sunball both days, could see
Yeah.
360. And I mean, we looked hard all day. And Saturday, we saw one fish in the first 5 minutes and it wanted nothing to do with the bait. And then we saw that one that when you passed us and we caught it, and it was, I don't know, 32 inches or so. And that was all we saw. Looked all around for drum, nothing. So two cobias, saw a pair of sheep's head swimming, and that was it. And then Sunday came into the bay, tried to switch it up. Saturday we were out in the ocean and, saw one on the bay side of the bridge, probably 5 minutes into the day. Thought, maybe this outgoing warmer water, they're going to be up. Got a good shot on it with the fly rod. Didn't eat, and that was it. 6, 7 hours and nothing. Got lucky, stopped at the end of the day, caught a handful of nice sheep's head, and caught and released a couple togs because that season just closed. And unfortunately, that was the case. But I talked to a lot of people that that fished hard. I mean, people that are out there every day, and it's one thing if everybody's out there catching 10 or 15 and you're not catching anything, but the unfortunate reality is, we're not. I don't like to chum for them. That's something you got to adapt to. But they're fly
Yeah.
fishermen. They wanted to get the shots. The people on the bottom are catching them. That Northwest must have put them down, and when you got 10 guys out there and the good report is, hey,
Hmm.
I saw four. I think Austin called me and goes, I got a good report for you. I saw four today.
Oh
It's
gosh.
just a crazy switch up. And now the drive home wasn't too bad because I wasn't leaving anything special, but
Oh geez.
hopefully it'll turn around. But if you were out there last weekend and you saw them, props to you. I need to figure out where you were.
Yeah, probably in Florida because I definitely didn't see any. I mean, we rode from out of Lynnhaven, the typical lap this time of year, turn around the Cape, go down a little ways off the beach to Dam Neck area, and then back coming in inshore. And I mean, I think we saw a little wolf pack of those needlefish, six or seven
Yeah.
of them. Yay, something exciting! And then we saw a turtle.
Life.
Yeah, I was like, life, here we go. We saw some deep bait balls, but again, that water was just so like the sediment from I really believe that west and west northwest winds, they push, and we had rain and it pushes a lot of stuff out of the tributaries that then just kind of like funnels in and just kind of I feel like it kind of desalinizes the surface, if you will, and it's a little murky. And I just feel like the cobias are just like, hey, that's just not my target environment to hang out in, and they're all on the bottom. And yeah, we rode around, looked, saw absolutely nothing. But this was cool. We came back into the bay. I think I passed you. You were headed towards like the third or fourth.
Yeah.
And we're like, what is that? And we see, this big boat being pulled by two tugs. And my buddy Eric jokingly says, or excuse me, my buddy Chad jokingly says, it kind of looks like the Spirit of Norfolk. And I go, yeah, it kind of does. We get closer, I take a picture of it, and I look and I zoom in, and sure enough, it is the old Spirit of Norfolk that caught fire in 2022. And I was like, well, that's really interesting. Why are two tugboats pulling the old Spirit of Norfolk? And I got excited thinking, wait, maybe we're going to get like a new giant wreck, to go fish out by
Yeah.
the. So I looked it up, and this is really interesting. I'll drop it in the show notes if anyone's curious. The Spirit of Norfolk is going all the way to Florida to be repurposed as an artificial reef there. The $5 million damage that the fire caused was a total loss. And the reason it's not staying here is because I didn't realize this. The expense to go through and pull out all the insulation and the generators and the engine components and anywhere that there's oil, stored kitchen equipment. I mean, there's this huge effort. It's like $750,000 or something like that just to prep it for being sunk and not damage the environment. And I
Does Florida
guess
just not have those regulations?
no, no, no. Florida has the money.
Oh, okay.
So Florida, Florida bought it. And again, this is not a dig against the VMRC by any means. I mean, that's if it's not budgeted for or
Yeah,
planned
yeah.
for, I mean, you can't just magically come up with it was $740,000 that it sold for, along with another vessel called the Skip and Sioux, that was headed for Destin, Fort Walton Beach area. But if you go look at the full report, it talks like line by line all the things that have to happen before they can sink it. So I guess the Florida Fisheries, Game and Wildlife, or whatever, had some budget set aside for this and was able to do it. But yeah, man, I mean, what do you do as a charter guide when you're out there like you were this past weekend? And I mean, what goes through your head? Like, how do you fight off those demons that like I might not see another fish?
You call your people, you call your friends and listen to them be just as miserable. Um, it's tough. I mean, I do think that one of the nice parts is, over the last couple of years, these guys were new, but same situation. I'm lucky to have people that want to come fish that are, it's an enjoyable experience just to be out there. These guys were fly fishermen that are used to wading in a stream, so getting to go out and see the planes fly over and the ships come out of the Navy. I mean, it's a bummer, but you got to turn it into something positive and try and keep conversation and tuck your tail and you know try not to talk about how good yesterday was. Really,
Right. That's so true. And that's a good reminder. I mean, there's a lot of like if you're not a regular patron of the Lower Chesapeake Bay area and you just happen to be out on a charter, catching fish or not, you're going to have an experience just getting to see the infrastructure, the bridge, the ocean front, the naval ships coming and going. Like you said, the jets flying over. I mean, people don't see that stuff every day. I mean, that, if
Yeah.
you don't see it every day, that's really cool. I mean, I'm reminded of it when I drive home from work and I see people parked there off of General Booth watching the jets come into land. And there's people there every day watching it. It's a new user group coming in to watch, and it's because it's that cool. I mean, when you see one of those jets up close, it's like, holy cow, what a work of art for a piece of machinery. And they're way bigger up close when you see them.
Oh
It's like,
yeah.
holy cow.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean it's cool, we take it for granted seeing the hovercrafts and the submarines and stuff, but sometimes you'll have these people from the Midwest, they've never been in the bay or the ocean, and you're having a great day of fishing, and then a submarine drives by and they're like, hey, can we go take a closer look at that? And they don't even, they forget all about the cobia, and we're sitting there like, what are you talking about? Like, let's get
it's a
back to it.
submarine, big deal. We don't need to get
Yeah,
50
cool.
cows
Yeah.
pointed at us.
Yeah,
I
seriously.
think we've all had that moment where we're like tracking something or looking in a direction and just totally blank on the fact that a sub is coming up on our six and the gunboat's ahead, and like next thing you hear over the radio, and then you hear the captain, we're going to need you to move about 16
Yeah.
degrees to your west, and you're like, oh gosh, I'm sorry. But anyways,
Yeah. They got the guy on the bow with the gun.
pointed right at you, and you're like, oh my gosh. A sub will throw a wake like nothing else that I've ever experienced. That's probably the biggest wave off of anything that I've ever seen, especially when it's coming up into the Thimble Shoal against the current on a hard outgoing tide. That's a wake that
6 footers.
slow down. You will dip the bow. Um, so obviously you're living in DC now, which means we're not going to be chartering you during the week as much weekends? I mean, is there some white space on the calendar? Can folks still contact you and get a chance at booking with you?
As of now, all of the dates that I am planning on coming home to fish are full. Please don't hesitate to reach out. If I can't take you, William, my mate, anyone who's been on the boat with me knows William Bloomdahl.
Hmm.
Cannot recommend him enough. He got his
Oh,
captain's
cool.
license over the winter. So he's got a new internship, but he'll be running some trips on the weekends where I'm not home. So I definitely have some availability with William, or myself. I posted something the other day about a short-term call list. So if you're interested in fishing with me, as of now, I can't give you a specific date, but I'm sure that I'm gonna be up here, and Thursday afternoon is gonna come around and Saturday is gonna look pretty. And even if I'm not planning on coming home, I'm sure that it's tempting. So please don't hesitate to reach out. You can message me on Instagram at kingtide_charters, or just give me a call or a text at 757-687-9973. And if I can't help you, I'd be happy to, refer you to somebody that I'm usually on the phone with all day. And,
That
we got a
catches
lot of,
fish.
yeah, we got a lot of good guides around here that can help you get on some fish.
Absolutely. Why don't we just take it to auction? Let's give me like two or three dates, and can I get 1,000? Can I get 1,000? 12, 12, once, twice, twice, 14,
Yeah,
114.
yeah,
Sold $2,000
yeah,
on King Tide.
yeah. You
Um,
call me with that. I'll drive. I'll take PTO. I'll come out.
sorry, new job. We just
Yeah,
we just sold a trip for a lot of money. We can
that's a whole
finally start to
paycheck.
pay off the boat maintenance.
Yeah,
Uh,
seriously.
uh, Captain Jack, thanks for being on the show, man. It's always great to catch up with you. Congrats on the new adventure in DC. I think I speak
Thank
for all
you.
of us. Excited to see you take that journey and learn and take your career to the next level. But we are definitely going to miss having you out on the bay on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's a new chapter. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited to get back when I can. I know that this was probably a longer segment than we're used to, but if you made it through the whole thing, I appreciate you
Congrats.
listening. Yeah, I appreciate you listening to Luke and I chat. And if you see me out there, feel free. My number's on my Instagram. I'm happy to help however I can. If you see us catching some fish and you're curious, just give me a call. And
Absolutely.
yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy the summer. And if you see the yellow boat out, I'll be there.
And shameless plug for what you're doing now. If I'm young and I'm maybe just getting started with my thoughts about my future, where should I invest? 401k, Roth, IRA? Do I need to be doing something in like government money market funds? Should I have a high yield savings account? Is an HSA a good idea? Should I have an FSA? All the stuff that we've talked about.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
can folks reach out to you and maybe start a relationship like that where they can start to partner with you for some financial planning and advice?
Yeah, of course. Right now I am more in a associate level position, kind of just helping out with the team that I'm on. But going forward, yeah, of course. If you got any questions, I don't know if I can give you any legitimate advice, and none of this is off the record. Your investment may lose money, and
Right.
I'm probably not supposed to be talking about this, but yeah, spend what you can and save what you need.
There you go. I like it. I like it. Well, it sounds like you got a team behind you. So if folks have questions and they know some Captain Jack to be reputable, give him a shout. Talking about fishing, talking about finance. He definitely won't steer you wrong on purpose. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up a great segment. Let's stick around and hear some words from our sponsors, making this great show and content free for you each and every week. We will be back with you real soon. Sam Rust Seafood, your locally trusted source for premium wholesale seafood. Servicing customers from Hampton Roads down through the Outer Banks, Richmond, and surrounding areas, including Fredericksburg, Charlottesville, and Lynchburg, for over 80 years. Committed to the highest standards in the industry, Sam Rust distributes the best of the ocean directly to your restaurant, hotel, or grocery store on time and at a great price. Visit samrust.com to discover how quality, tradition, and sustainability come together. So don't cuss, call Sam Rust. It's time we talked about catching some serious savings. Imagine harnessing the power of the sun to cut your energy bills and having a roof that's built to last. Convert Solar and Roofing specializes in top-notch solar installations and durable roofing solutions that stand up to the toughest elements. Their solar panels are designed to maximize efficiency, and their roofs are built with premium materials to ensure long-lasting protection. Whether you're out on the water or at home, their expert team ensures you're covered. As fellow anglers in the Lower Chesapeake Bay, the team at Convert Solar and Roofing cares about both sustainable living and sustainable fishing. So reel in those savings today and visit www.convert-solar.com or call 757-44-SOLAR. Make your energy and roof as reliable as your favorite fishing lure. Call Convert Solar and Roofing today. All right, guys, well, welcome to this next segment. We've been talking a lot about the season kicking off. The weather's finally improved. Unfortunately, we had that little blowout of the West, like talking to Captain Jack about how it's impacted this kind of initial Cobia run. But we're excited about what's coming up because it's only a few weeks away and it's going to be June 15th and we're going to have some excitement. We got Father's Day weekend and then the following weekend, we got our first Cobia tournament. So I'm excited to welcome to the show Kyle Bell with Kyle Bell Homes, who hosts Cobia East Championship, the biggest, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Cobia tournament here on the Lower Chesapeake Bay. Kyle, welcome to the show, man. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure. We've gotten to talk through the years, and you're passionate about your charity, you're passionate about your job, and you're passionate about fishing. So just for our listeners getting to hear your voice for the first time, tell us a little bit about yourself and what birthed the idea to run a Cobia fishing tournament, and who does it benefit?
All right. Well, the charity is called Cobia for Kids. And I was coaching a youth wrestling team called the Gorillas over in Gloucester. And one particular year, the high school coach had quit. And actually, let me back up. We needed money when I first got hired, we didn't have anything.
Hmm.
And I was like, hey, let's do a cobia tournament. All my friends fish. At that point in time, I don't even think I had caught a cobia yet. And they turned me down. So it got shelved. And we actually found the paperwork last summer of the meetings from that meeting. My wife is now the president of that club. And we were going through some old stuff. And it was like, here it is. That's when I first tried
Oh,
to
that's
do it.
cool. That's
So
cool.
fast forward 3 years later, I filled in as the high school coach that season, and we went to another school who we had 15 matches that night. We won 14 out of 15 matches, but we didn't look like a team at all. We had
Hmm.
no money. We had no matching uniforms. Our singlets, some of the singlets from when I graduated high school in '04.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
oh, dude, it was so bad. And we just looked like the bad news bears.
Yeah.
And so I went to the parents. I actually bought a bunch of dry fit shirts and some shorts, and my best friend's wife helped me iron on Gloucester Wrestling onto both things. I sold them to the parents, and then we took that money and we went up to a tournament up around DC, and we went to this big like arcade type thing where it was $40 per wrestler, and they got to do rock climbing and laser tag and go karts and putt putt, and it was unlimited. And we stayed there all day. It was amazing. It was a team building thing. Had lots of laser tag fights. The kids, yeah, there's a couple of
That
them, man.
sounds fun.
It was awesome. It's always fun messing around with them, high energy. But after that, I was like, okay, we need to figure something out. So I went back to the board, which I was still the head coach of the private club then, and I was like, I'm going to do this Cobia tournament with or without you guys. The high schoolers can help me run it. I don't need y'all, but I would like your help.
Hmm.
And they were like, okay, well, we'll try it. And our first tournament, we had, was it 70 boats? And we raised $10,000
That's
after
awesome.
everything was paid. You got to think, we were we were at a loss for how this stuff was supposed to work. So do you remember the Flounder Bowl?
Vaguely, yeah.
So I used to work for the guy that ran that for years. His name was Chuck Ash. Chucky passed away here in the past year. Great man. So when I decided to do this, I called Chucky and invited him into breakfast. So I bought him breakfast and I brought my notebook and I
Time to
just
learn.
started taking notes.
Yeah.
And his big thing, Kyle, was keep it simple, keep it simple, stupid, Kyle.
Yeah.
Not, you don't need too many rules; they won't like it.
Yeah.
And that's what we did, and so it turned out to be a success. And then the next year, we got, I want to say, 90 boats. Um, and it's just been going on and on. The most we've had so far is 126 boats.
Yeah. Wow.
If we could get some good weather,
Yep.
we've had 6 of these tournaments, and the weather seems to bite us every year, but we
Don't I
still have a
know
good
it?
turnout. Yes, you would know.
Yeah.
It's been a good time though. Wrestling has been a passion. It really has shaped who I am as a man and as a father, as in business.
Yeah.
I could be biased, but I think wrestling's the greatest sport ever.
Yeah.
You learn a lot about yourself if you spend any amount of time in a wrestling room.
Mm.
Those kids, they learn that if it's hot, you still got more. If you're tired, you still got more. And at the end of the day, the only people we can really rely on is ourselves.
Yeah.
And it teaches you that. And it's
Yeah.
you, one other wrestler, and a referee, and you're out there. And sometimes it's a small crowd. It might be 30 people. Or then you'll go to the Virginia duels and you're in front of a couple thousand.
Yeah.
So they learn all aspects of it. And, with the tournaments, we've been able to buy new practice mats. We outfitted the room season 4 last. That cost us 20,000. During this past off season, the youth program was able to buy 3 more competition mats. So the wrestling mats that we had were old when I was in high school. I mean, they were petrified.
Wow.
Um, so now we're able to get away from them, and doing everything we can. We send our kids to camps. If you don't have the money to pay, that's okay.
Mm.
The club's going to cover it. The tournament. That's why I created it. That was one of the things. So let's say if you go to a more prominent club over in Richmond or in Chesapeake, it might be anywhere from $500 to $700 just for a 4-month season. We keep our costs low. It's $250,
Mm-hmm.
and that includes full uniforms, warm ups, your singlet, your bag.
A nice facility to practice in. I think it's cool
Yeah.
because, you're really investing in the next generation. And I know from, hiring employees and from talking to other colleagues, people want people who have competed in competitive sports because they know there's a discipline and a grit that they learn through that really can't be replaced in the classroom or even in a college program. And so the long-term benefits and effects of what you're doing for these kids is really admirable. And it's neat to be able to tie it to something that we're all passionate and love, which is cobia fishing. So when is the tournament this year?
So this year, VMRC decided it'd be a great idea to put it the opening day on June 15th, which is Father's Day.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we've been battling that for a couple years now. Um, but this year, the tournament is actually on June 21st, which is the opening Saturday of Cobia season.
Okay.
We're really
Very
excited
cool.
about that.
That's going to be good. And, hopefully we'll knock on wood. We'll have some good weather and not be, battling 3 to 4 footers in the bay, which is oddly typical of the first, weekend of the year. So I'm going to like knock on wood for you that by going one weekend later, it's just going to like give us one of those bluebird days that we all dream about for a tournament day. But if folks are like, okay, I'm ready to start planning, I'm ready to start talking and getting my team together, starting to, save up and get my Calcutta monies together, where's the best place people can find all the information relative to the tournament?
Oh, without a doubt, that's our website,
Okay.
CobiaEastCoastChampionship.com. That has everything on there. Has our rules, which will be updated very soon. It has all the Calcuttas, sponsorship links. You could just do regular boat entries there as well. So for the boat entries, if you do it online, all the way up until the day before the actual on-site registration, which is the 20th of June, you save $25.
Okay.
So if you register online, you save 25. If you register on site, it's 300.
Okay. Well, hey, $25 is just enough eels to get you through the morning. Um, One thing that's awesome too about your tournament that I love is it really brings the entire lower Chesapeake Bay together. There's lots of tournaments that are run out of different sort of pockets, and you guys are out of, headquartered out of Gloucester, but then you've got what, 6 total way stations that kind of encompass the entire lower Chesapeake Bay. So you can attend a captain's meeting within 30 minutes of yourself and weigh in typically, within 30 minutes of your home port. So it gives you, the opportunity to compete whether you're on the Eastern Shore, way up in Yorktown, Gloucester, maybe even up as far as Windmill Point, all the way down through, Hampton, and then into Virginia Beach, Rudy Inlet. So I
Well, we
think
had
it's
to make some
awesome.
changes on that.
Okay.
This year, we're not doing the Eastern Shore.
Okay. Got it.
Um, just because we were having it, the location that we were having it, you can only drive there.
Right.
And we were only getting like two people to
Mm,
ever enter to register for the tournament there.
got it.
And we were losing money because we have to pay for hotel rooms and travel expenses for our our
So
people
it
who
doesn't
work
it doesn't
there.
support the mission of raising that money for the kids if we're overextending ourselves on operational expenses for something that really doesn't benefit the
Correct.
mission.
So
And
this
what's
year we're out of our main place is at Legacy Marine down in Yorktown.
hmm
That's where we have our after party. We have a satellite way station at Long Bay Point Marina. Then
Virginia
we have one
Beach?
at Wallace's Bait and Tackle in Hampton,
hmm
and then Windmill Point over the Tiki Bar, Windmill Point
Yeah.
Marina, in
Yep.
Whitestone.
hmm
You know that I got a call a few years ago from some local fishermen up there that, hey, we'd love to fish your tournament, but there's never any way stations close to us. So we started having it up there. And last year, we had 20 entries out of that
Wow.
place alone. And my wife runs that location typically.
hmm
And she said that there was like another 20 there that were monitoring the weather. And they just were like, we can't do it. So we're hoping,
You're
and
gonna
in the
you're gonna
future,
have
I
some
want to
guys.
bring the Eastern Shore back. I just got to find a good spot over there, whether it be out of Cape Charles
Yeah.
or there's that other private, not private, but the state park over there,
Yeah.
right there
Kip
where
to
the concrete
Peak.
strips are.
Yeah,
Kick it.
you've kept a peak. You've also got like the Shanty and Bay Creek. I'm sure we could rustle up a few folks and find something for next year for you. But one of the things I'm most excited about this year as a sight fisherman is the time frame. So 6 a.m. till 6 p.m., 12 full hours of fishing, which is incredible. So between all the options of where you can go to a captain's meeting and weigh in, you've also got the advantage of, those other 3 hours that we often lose when we have to weigh in by 4 and you're, leaving during like prime fishing time. So um,
Yeah.
I'm excited, man. I think it's going to be an absolute killer tournament. And you've got a new Calcutta level. I mean, tell the listeners how big is the Calcuttas this year?
So we started the first year, we did 100, 200, 300.
Uh-huh.
And then, we had some fishermen come up and say, man, we'd really like another Calcutta level. So we did one, two, three, and then five. And then the same guys, they want to hire one. So this year we added in a $900 Calcutta also. So, and just like before, if you want to be in the two, you got to be in the one. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to be in the three, you got to be in the first two. If you want
Yep.
to be in nine, you got to be in all. So to be in all in and all the Calcuttas is $2,000.
Okay, got it. And then your entry fee, $300. So,
Mhm.
folks, you heard it here. $900 Calcutta. That's a first, I think, that I've heard of any tournament anywhere. So there's going to be a huge pot. And then again, this is for the kids. I would love to see you have 150 boats this year. That would just be unbelievable for the charity. And then, of course, just for setting new records. Why not? Let's get it as big as it can go.
Yeah, I've obviously done a lot of homework on Cobia tournaments all up and down the East Coast, and I haven't been able to find one that really comes close to us as far as the number of boats. And that our goal has been 150 boats. We do up 200 captains buckets every year in
Just
the
to be
hope
ready.
just
Yeah.
to be ready. We're always left over with a bunch. If you need any buckets, let me know. I got plenty of them.
Roger that. Well, man, I'm excited. Thanks for taking some time out tonight just to tell us, a little bit about where this idea was birthed, who it benefits, and the meaning there, and then just some quick details about what's to come. Remind us if we want to find out more, we go to what's the website again?
It's CobiaEastCoastChampionship.com.
All right,
We also have a Facebook page of the same name, Cobia East Coast Championship.
got it. And
Um,
if folks want to sponsor and get involved from a sponsorship level or have questions about the tournament, what's the best way they can contact you?
they can call me directly. My cell phone is 804-832-0229. Or they can actually just log right on to the computer and go to the web page, and they can see all our sponsorship levels. It starts at $500,
Hmm.
and that gets you one boat entry, a T-shirt, and then you're on our signage. I do also radio interviews, and then it goes up to $1,000.
Hmm.
You get two boat entries with that. You go up higher on the shirts. You also signage and radio call outs.
Hmm.
And it goes up to Diamond. Diamond is $2,000. That comes with three boat entries, and then you get your own signs higher up on all our stuff. And then our biggest one is Platinum. That comes with four boat entries, um, all your own signs, more advertising. We're actually getting ready to cut a radio ad with 99.1 FM, and that will list all of our Platinum and Diamond sponsors in the 30-second ad also.
That's great, man. There's lots of opportunity to get your brand and your name and awareness out there in the local community where you as a small business probably service or provide a product. So if you're listening and you're like, hey, you know what? We got some extra marketing budget. This would be a great opportunity to get involved, to be part of something really cool and helping the kids. Kyle, it's always a pleasure, man. Thank you for just brainstorming with us a little bit tonight and sharing a little bit about the tournament. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir, man. I look forward to it as well. It's always a good time. The after
Absolutely.
party, that's the best part. Once you get done with the awards and everything, then I finally get to kick back and hang out with the people. We have our beer truck. 15 kegs. We have hundreds of pounds of pork barbecue.
Mm,
We have a live band, all kinds of raffles. Really excited about it. And it's a chance to meet a lot of the wrestlers. I get
very
to
cool.
introduce them, introduce the other coaches. They're doing some big things over at Gloucester High School. This year they placed third in the state. It's the highest the school's ever placed. They had five all-state wrestlers, and it ends up costing a lot of money at the end of the day to keep these kids wrestling year round.
Hmm.
And that's the Cobia tournament has been able to provide that for a lot of them.
Man, I love to hear it, man. Well, I'm pumped. We'll keep our eyes and ears out for updates, and we'll definitely be reminding our listeners as we get closer. And if you're interested in any of the definitions or links that we talked about, it's going to be in the show notes, the website, the Facebook, Kyle's email, his phone number. Get in touch, get sponsored, get registered. It's going to be a good time. Kyle, it was a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Folks, that's going to wrap up this week's episode. Excited for the fishing season ahead. Y'all make sure to always check your safety, do your maintenance, pay attention to local regulations, and do your part in sustainable fishing. We'll look forward to talking with you real soon. Hooked on fishing? Then you're part of the local community that Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle cares about serving and giving back to, providing you with the right selection for each season's target species. They're your one-stop shop to gear up with the best bait, tackle, and insider tips to catch your next trophy fish. You can fuel up right out front on the water and then chat with the crew inside for hot tips on where they're biting. So swing by today. Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle, where your fishing adventures start and finish with your trophy catch on their scales. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free APCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaner Cloth, text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep on whacking them and be safe out there.